Man. That was a good one, dude. My favorite part was fighting that whole team at once. That was awesome.
Same. I think that was definitely my favorite too. Yeah, we did pretty good on that, boys. What did you say?
Dude, that was crazy because Josh was like, "Don't get too excited," but there's only 7 left, and I'm like, "Whoa!" Like I was distracted, like just dicking around. You know?
Yeah. I know. I'm glad I had that fucking Slurpee gun. That shit was extra helpful.
Dude, that thing saved our asses, man.
Yeah,
seriously,
for sure.
I thought it would only do shield, but it did health too, so that's fucking great. Yeah.
Dude, I couldn't even get up that last mountain, and I had to run through the storm. I got knocked down to like 15 health. I was like, "Fuck, dude, I'm about to die." And then like there's like this little sliver of eye that I ran into, you know, and I could finally build some stairs to get up, but I was like, dude, I almost didn't make it.
Dude, I had like 999 of all material at the end of that.
Word. So Josh, what you got, man? What you got for this? Okay. Your favorite fucking mystery right now?
Okay, so check it out. So you guys maybe have heard the story, but like, okay, kids that remember their old past life, like they've been reincarnated. So like, basically there's this kid, his name's James Leninger. He was born in 1998, and he claims that he was a lieutenant that passed away in a plane. His plane got shot down in World War II, right? His past life, his name was James. James Houston Jr., I believe, which is kind of crazy. So like his current life's name is James, but like his past life he was James Houston Jr., which is fucking crazy.
Yeah,
that's weird.
He has all kinds of like in-depth detail of his past life, and I think he was like 4 years old, and it only happens with kids that. There's a couple stories, but it only happens with kids that are like really young because their brain hasn't fully developed. But like, there's all kinds of proof that the kid wasn't lying. You know, like he basically had nightmares of like his plane being shot down, which he's never watched any war movies whatsoever. Right? He was able to accurately describe Japanese fighter planes in World War II. Right? And he even remembers like his little sister's name, which is really crazy because his little sister was still alive. And after a while, the parents hunted down all the people that he claimed to have known in his past life, and they've all corroborated his story, which is freaking nuts.
That's crazy.
Oh my gosh, that's so crazy, dude.
Yeah. It's freaking nuts because then you think like this is probably the kids that there's a couple stories that I've heard about it, but like. It's nuts that like, what if these kids are just like the odd men out that actually remember their past lives, and like reincarnation is actually a normal thing, right? Like it blows my mind. So like basically the parents hunted down all the James Houston Jr.'s old colleagues.
It was Lieutenant James McCready Houston Jr.
Well, and basically they basically corroborated his story too. They're like, yo, dude, like this kid has information that only the lieutenant would have. Like, you know, like no one else would ever. So the parents are like baffled, and they're like, well, you know, like they thought their kid was just like, you know, had a crazy imagination or whatever. But the kid he refers to himself as the third, which because he's the next James in line, you know, like his past life, he was known as James Houston Jr., but he calls himself James the Third, which is crazy. Which is nuts, you know?
That's crazy.
Like, yeah, so like, if even I don't know if it proves reincarnation, but it does definitely prove that there's recycled souls.
Well.
On the planet.
Absolutely. So like, dude, there's so much literature about it actually being a possibility. Like in Clash of the Titans, there's 5 civilizations that rule the world. You get greater and greater. And in Buddhism, me being Buddhist, there's 7 lives you live. I totally believe that reincarnation is a thing. And that
the Tibetan Book of the Dead, man, I've been talking about that shit pretty hard the last several months. Talks about they break it down to a fucking science.
Right.
Yeah. Which is great. Another story that I read is this boy, and I don't think his name was actually disclosed, so I don't know how credible the story actually is. but he actually solved his murder from his past life. The kid did.
That's crazy.
So like, so
Wow.
basically, yeah. So basically, he at the age of like 3 years old, he basically was telling his parents that like he got murdered by a guy that hit him in the head with an axe.
Wow.
Right. And basically, and I think it was it Syria Golden Heights or something like that is where he's from. And his parents took him to the spot that he said that he got murdered in, and they found the dead body. Like they unearthed the skeleton of the kid or of the guy with a blunt trauma wound to his head. Like, and basically the guy he was able to tell the first and last name of the guy who killed him, and the guy admitted to it like years and years later.
That's crazy.
Dude, you know, that guy probably thought he got away scot-free, and this motherfucker comes the
kid took the parents to the exact spot that he died, and they unearthed the body with a huge wound in the skeleton, like in the skeleton, the head, the skull.
Yo, that murder suspect was like, "Fuck them kids, dude."
What was crazy?
Dude, that's crazy. He's like, I came back, bitch. I'm a 3-year-old right now. I'm fucking getting you.
What's just crazy is that the kid had a crazy birthmark in the spot, the exact spot, a long birthmark in the spot that he got hit in the head. Yeah.
That's fucking crazy, dude.
Mm-hmm.
The exact spot.
You know what that kind of does for me too? That like with the birthmark, and like you see like this like repetition, right? Like you have the blunt wound, and then it's like a repetition of trauma as a birthmark. And then let's say hypothetically, like the kid lives his life out and he dies and he's born again. And then he has like another little birthmark, but it's not as much, but you see like this repetition, and it's like, it's almost like sacred geometry and like metaphysical, like mathematics, where like you have like these repeating patterns, like all out through like space, universe, everything, you know, and even outside of time. And now we're looking at it like past lives, like what
microverse,
the fuck,
universe, all that shit goes in correspondence to that too, you know.
And what's crazy is, okay, so there's probably about 10 stories that I looked up while doing the kind of the research for this topic. And even if like one of the stories were completely true and factual, because like, you know, like I don't know, you might have to take it with a grain of salt, but like there's a lot of evidence saying that these stories are completely true.
Right.
If 1% of them are true, that's like, that proves your reincarnation. You know, it proves that there's something more than what we are led to believe, which is freaking.
Besides my inherent beliefs like of reincarnation because of Buddhism, I do believe that I have like in dreams experienced past lives before. And I think as a kid you are still so close to the Ashika records or the all-knowing Akashic records, yeah, thank you. But you know, you're still close to that. As in death, like when people are close to death, they are able to almost like understand things or understand almost universal knowledge that they shouldn't have. And I think like really I do believe in that. And I always believe that I'm eternal. Like I may die, but like you can't kill me. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah. Well, because like energy never destroyed, right? It's like it's always just is. It just like transmuted to a different type of energy or a different life or whatever. But it just that just blows my mind when I heard these stories. Like I heard them probably about like 5 years ago. But it was on my mind whenever we thought about topics for this series, where it's like, man, that's actually a fucking perfect one because it kind of just hit me out of nowhere.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
So this ties into it too. This is tying into what you were talking about too, Colton, about how like when you're young and like you're still like very much like in tune with like that other world like knowledge. When I was 5, I had a dream, and I this was not influenced by anything that I had seen or heard or shit. I wasn't even reading. I was 5 years old, and I remember like in the dream I was specifically on either like the southern French or the Italian Mediterranean coast, like right by France. And I was an old man, and I was walking from a shipwreck, and I was on this beach, and it was really rocky. And I remember like hallucinating, like I was like I was really fucking injured. And I remember like looking towards the sky and I fucking like hallucinated this golden fucking city like in the sky. And I'm telling you, like, there's nothing I'd fucking seen or heard or whatever before I had this dream. And like that's all I remember from it. But it's like it was so fucking vivid and it was so real, like what I was going through, you know, like that I was able to make the distinction, like, no, like I'm injured right now, like I'm seeing things, like, and like I'm able to like feel this old man's like, you know, vision or whatever he's having as he's like near death. Like it's fucking wild.
Yeah, that blows my mind, man. It's so crazy, all the stuff that you can live a whole lifetime.
You cut out.
Never even think about, you know, like in that aspect.
Oh, you good. You cut out for a second, but you good.
Oh, it just blows my mind, like all this stuff that, you know, that's probably even sacred. It's sacred knowledge that's, you know, that just hasn't been dealt with properly. That hasn't been distributed to the masses. Like where I think personally it's a power thing. You know, they want to keep us dependent on what they tell us to believe, which like, dude, like the innocent kid that hasn't had anything in their life go on at 4 years old is able to tell you war stories that they've never even conceived, you know?
Right. Well, it's like there's this old saying where like when you look in the eyes of a baby, you see the universe. You know, it's like there's been like they've actually proven this shit where before you learn actual mathematics, right? 1 + 1, 2 × 2, all that shit, before any of that happens, when like you're a toddler, you can actually look at a pile of bricks on the one hand, and you can look at another pile of bricks on the other hand, and you will know which pile has more bricks than the other. And they can be off by just 1 or 2, and you will still fucking know which one has more fucking bricks.
Yeah, for sure.
I mean, it's fucking wild, you know, like the shit that as you come into like what we consider the world, right? Like the you know, in fucking in Kabbalah, like the Kabbalistic tree of life, there's this thing called the veil of Paraketh. And that's the veil that you rip off, that you throw to the side. You know, it's like the Wizard of Oz, you know, you're exposing the fucking wizard when you're dropping psychedelics, when you're fucking eating acid or mescaline, or like you meditate, or you stare into someone's eyes for 10 minutes, you know, unbroken. You know, it's like this whole thing that we consider reality, this veil is like the Hindus call it Maya. By learning it and buying into it, you forget all this other fucking shit. You know, like all this other stuff that we're tied to on this like deeper subconscious level.
Yeah, I agree, man. So yeah, that was my my little topic that I'd like.
Great topic.
That was fucking dope, man. We went so far down the rabbit hole on that.
Awesome. Yo, also, pretty cool. Also, Josh, I don't know if you want to reintroduce yourself because we kind of botched it last time. Rob was the only good one, by the way.
Hello, world, whoever's listening, whoever cares. I'm the Foco Shinobi, man. I like all kinds of stuff, like mainly like cartoons and voice acting. I think it's amazing to be able to take on other characters, even acting in general, like to be able to give a performance that takes you out of wherever it is that you're at and brings you to another planet, like to brings you to another way of thinking, like where you can know an actor for all their work, right? But you see them in this one role, and all of a sudden, like their name, who they are is irrelevant because like they masterfully take on the roles that they assign themselves, which is fucking cool to me.
Yeah,
like it's cool. That's so cool, man. I like everything from video games to lore to secret knowledge to everything. I
think that's why I brought you on this show too, because one, you are hilarious, and as long as I've known you, you've definitely always been about voice acting, and you do bring characters all the time. You're a great personality, but you also are very smart, as we could just see through this shit. We could tell you're very smart, so that's why I was like, my boy Josh and my boy Rob, the smartest dudes I know.
Don't tell anyone, man. They're gonna get the wrong idea about me.
Whatever. Fuck you, dude.
My head's getting big already.
Dude, fuck you too, dude. All right, let's play some. Let's go back to some Fortnites.